This is a 20 to 25 minute installer presentation. Gamalux Lighting Systems is a family-owned linear lighting systems manufacturer in San Dimas, California. As we go about our business, we try to keep mind of our core values because that's how we do our best work. First value is collaboration, meaning that we want to have meaningful conversations with people at all levels of the project management, whether it's the specifier, the distributor, the installing contractor, or our salesperson. We want to understand what's important to all those people as we go through these transactions so that we can meet their needs as best as we possibly can. Quality, of course, is a very important part of what we do. Obviously, we'll never get the second job if we don't do the first job right. So quality of construction, as well as the type of mounting methods we provide, is also quite important. And, of course, integrity. Sometimes things go wrong at job sites. Obviously, somebody's going to have to pay for it, but Gamalux needs to be in the very center of those conversations so that we can come up with the best way to solve a problem, whether it's a mounting issue or fixtures not illuminating the way that they should, or aesthetic issues. And certainly, we want to step in and do what we can to minimize the damage on these things. Now, the reason why Gamalux products are usually selected, particularly in architectural integration type of projects, is because of the very fine attention to detail that we provide. For instance, in a project like this, where we've got fixtures coming up the wall and across the ceiling, this is a very common type of installation lately, but you see something very uncommon, which is a little gap between the wall and the ceiling, and this is very unusual as far as the installation of fixtures. Well, what you can't have is people looking inside those gaps up inside the ceiling and then seeing the brackets on the side of a recessed fixture, or the holes, or various mounting components. So rather than using a recessed fixture in this application, what we actually do is we use a suspended fixture that we've modified just in the area where it's supposed to interface with the wall or the ceiling, but we didn't modify the fixture in the area that was going to be visible inside that little 3-inch gap. So once the fixtures are actually installed into the space, as a person is walking down the corridor and they look at the side of those fixtures, they see the smooth side of what used to be a suspended fixture rather than all the undesirable elements that are visible on the side of a recessed fixture. Now, obviously, we're going to help you to avoid this kind of problem here, where you've got a fixture that's built for the ceiling and another fixture that's built for the wall, and then you're supposed to try to figure out how to put those together. The way that we build these patterns of fixtures is kind of in a comprehensive way. What we're doing here is we're taking our fixture that's coming up the wall, and we actually build it at the factory as an L-shaped fixture, so it's coming out of the wall about 6 inches or so. And now, at the end of that fixture is just a very simple butt joint that's going to interface with the other fixture that's in the ceiling. By doing that, we're giving the guys in the field the most simple form of installation possible, while still maintaining the original design intent on the job. And so at the end of a job like this, everybody wins. Even though it was a very complex installation, we provided the tools that were necessary and the type of details that the installer needed so that they could actually do good work. Now, in a very complex suspended pattern of fixtures or recessed patterns of fixtures, there's a lot that can go wrong. Now, here you can see in the reflection in the glass, this is actually one pattern of fixtures weaving its way through the entire floor of that building. And you can imagine there's so many different parts and pieces that have to be ordered, and that's really where things start to fall apart, because nobody really understands all the different parts and pieces that are going to be required to be ordered and installed in order to get this pattern going. So what it creates is a lot of problems at the job site, of course, and if you don't order it correctly, you've got delays and you've got cost overruns, and this is not the kind of thing that's going to help you build your business. So what we do is we provide a special tool to the designer before the job even goes to bid, called a development drawing. We want to provide this development drawing which matches the details of their original design but takes all of that complexity and turns it into one catalog number for the entire pattern of fixtures and one quotable price. This way, when you get a hold of the bid package, you see that this is an engineered lighting system. It's not some kind of a beast that you have to try to figure out how to put it all together. And so by dealing with these patterns in totality in simple terms, like one part number for the whole thing, it actually simplifies the entire process all along the way. Now, because this whole pattern of fixtures is one part number, we have to identify each component within the pattern, so we add these what we call mod numbers or location identifiers. And this mod number follows each component in this pattern throughout the entire production process here at Gamalux. As a matter of fact, everything we build is actually fully assembled twice before we pack it and ship it. We do this first before it's painted to make sure that all the housings line up properly and the dimensions are correct and the mounting components all work the way that they should. Then we take the entire thing apart, paint it, put in the electrical, and reassemble the entire thing, checking every circuit, every battery pack, the aux sensors, the daylight harvesting sensors, even checking the fit and finish of the paint finish from one housing to the next. So we're very thorough in our methods. And of course this means our lead time is a little bit longer than our competitors, but what we're doing is going through all the procedures necessary to ensure this thing looks and works the way that it should before we ship it out to you at the job site. Now, of course, each component, as I said, has its own mod number, so you'll know exactly where it needs to go. Now, each fixture is actually male, female on one end, female on the other end. So you're able to, so you don't have the problems of maybe spinning things around and now you're blowing circuits and such. So these fixtures can only be installed one way, which is really nice. Now, in addition to putting that mod number on a little sticker on the inside of the fixture next to the UL label, we also put it on the outside of the fixture, on the bubble wrap, and then on both ends of the carton. So if you're looking at this side of the pallet or that side of the pallet, you can see everything that's on that carton. Also, as much as possible, we actually put all fixtures for the same pattern onto the same pallet. Now, when we ship out those fixtures, of course, we're going to send out a layout drawing, and that drawing also will have those mod numbers added to it as well, so the guys in the field can know exactly where everything goes. Now, in addition to all the fixtures for a pattern of fixtures, we will also ship all the fixtures for a continuous run of fixtures, again, on the same pallet. So we don't ship all the 4-footers, on one day and all the 8-footers on another day, and the hanging parts are shipping out next Tuesday, something silly like that. We ship everything in completion on the same pallet as much as possible, and we'll even pack these for you per floor or per phase, if you like, so that you can keep your guys working as quickly and efficiently at the job as possible and keep them profitable. Now, every job that we ship actually ships out on a custom-made pallet that's 2 inches longer and wider on all 4 sides than any carton on the pallet. So we do not get shipping damage complaints at Gamalux because of the way that we palletize our fixtures. Now, as I said, everything is built twice because you need to know that we're checking for fine issues like light leak here at the factory before the fixtures arrive on site, because the truth is you don't need to be spending time fixing problems with light fixtures at the job site. This is why we do it at the factory before they even ship. Now, here's that application of those same fixtures that I was just showing you. I'm standing on the lobby floor here, and I look up, and we can see that there's a second floor walkway above me, and the fixtures are actually embedded into the ceiling above. But if we go upstairs, we can actually see they're embedded in the ceiling, and they were also cantilevering out from the wall. So quite dynamic installation here. Now, you might be able to see that there's a flange on the bottom of those fixtures there. That was not how they were specified. They were actually specified with our mud flange, where the fixtures have to be installed into the stud framing first, and then the jip is built around the fixtures and then mudded over. So for one reason or another, the people who were responsible to order the product, they didn't order it in time, and that meant that they ran out of time to have the fixtures up in the jip and then mud them in. So what they decided to do was to have us go ahead and build the fixtures with our cover flange on the bottom at the factory. And while we were building the fixtures, they decided, let's go ahead and put the jip up, and we're going to cut the slots in the jip at the same dimension as what Gamalux shows on the factory drawings. Well, in theory that works, but in reality it didn't, and here's exactly what happened. If we draw a straight line, you can see the cutout that they made in the jip was not the same dimension as what we built for the fixtures. What that ends up happening is they had to hyperextend the corner of the fixtures in that location, and that made the lenses unable to join together, and it also created a gap in that flange that they thought was going to be the solution to their problem. So what we want to do is avoid this kind of thing by working with what we call kind of a reverse timetable. If you can let us know when the product is required on site, then we can let you know by what date we're going to require the signature approvals on our shop drawings. And by doing that, we want to establish a clear understanding for everybody involved and clear expectations so that everybody can actually do their very best work. Now, this pattern of fixtures here, this is not a custom pattern of fixtures, and this is not impossible to install. See, when we build a pattern of fixtures like this, we're actually miter cut and welding these fixtures as L-shaped or V-shaped or T-shaped fixtures at the factory, so the installing contractor doesn't have to put together all these complex miter joints. We're building these as L-shaped fixtures so that the contractor is just working with a simple butt joint away from that corner. So even very complex patterns of fixtures, we're building them in such a way that the installers can work quickly and efficiently. To my knowledge, we're the only manufacturer left that can still make a single piece 24-foot housing all one piece. And depending on the shape of that housing, if it's a tall rectangular, it has a lot of rigidity to it, we can support that entire fixture with just 2 cables. Now think about the labor savings. If you're doing a school full of classrooms and you've got 2 patterns of fixtures per classroom, how much time you're going to save when each of those fixtures, of those 2 fixtures in the classroom, each of them is a single piece housing with just 2 cables to support it. So we're talking about a potential massive labor savings when you're using 24-foot single piece housings. Now, when you order a 24-foot run from Gamalux, we don't automatically make it a single piece. It's going to be 2 12-footers or 3 8-footers. But if you order it specifically and it's specified that way as a 24-foot single piece housing, that's exactly what we're going to build. But of course, before we even start building, we're going to call you and ask, how are you going to get it in the building? All right. So obviously, we've got to make sure that whatever we build can actually be installed. But the benefits are extreme. See, if you've got multiple joints in a continuous run of fixtures, if any of those joints are sagging, then you're actually going to open up the bottom of the joint of those fixtures, and now you create light leak. Well, if Southwest Airlines has to move in tomorrow, you don't have time to go back and adjust all those hanging points, and then, of course, you're going to suffer. So by making fixtures in longer housing lengths, it eliminates unnecessary joints and allows your work to look much better than if you'd used anybody else's product. Now, how do you ship it? On a custom-made 25-foot pallet with a steel gondola holding the whole thing together, so when the forks come in, we don't have 12 feet of fixtures dangling off the ends and bending and breaking. We're very conscientious in what we do. Now, we can actually use our fixtures to create steps in the ceiling. See, what we did in this job is we found out what kind of ceiling system it was, the Armstrong Axiom ceiling system, and it uses this C-shaped channel up against the walls where the grid slides along that channel, and then they drop in the tiles. So what we did is we got a hold of that C-shaped channel called the vector trim, and we attached that channel on both sides of our fixture at 2 different heights. By doing that, we're allowing the grid to just snap right into the sides of our fixture, so it actually speeds up the installation of the fixtures and the grid and allows everything to be suspended independently while still interfacing with all those different pieces. And by doing this, we're allowing the installers to use the components that they already know, so they don't have to spend extra time trying to figure this thing out. So we can actually help others to get their jobs done faster and still create very dynamic installations in a space. In fixtures where we want to be flush with the bottom of special ceiling components, this is the Hunter Douglas textile ceiling where the panels are 1 1/8 inches thick. So we drop our fixture 1 1/8 inches below the bottom of the grid so that it's consistent with the ceiling line, so you don't have fixtures up high and ceiling panels down low. So we ask a lot of questions about ceiling systems. This is the Armstrong Tech Zone ceiling with the 6-inch zone and also the 4-inch zone. We can make our fixtures in continuous runs in that 4-inch zone and actually eliminate the need for that U-shaped yoke that holds the grids together, because our housing is rigid aluminum extrusion with brackets on the side. The housing is what holds the grid straight, so we don't need that U-shaped yoke provided by Armstrong. Here's the Hunter Douglas Box Series ceiling where they got metal panels. Well, what we did here is we made our fixture the same width as the panels, and then we put a joiner spline on the end of our fixture to interface with the cut panel in line with our fixture, and we use the same brackets on the top of the fixtures that are necessary necessary specifically for that particular ceiling system, that universal carrier that Hunter Douglas uses, and that bracket slides anywhere along the side of the fixture that the guys in the field need it to. So we're giving them the components that are helping them to work quickly and efficiently without having to bang stuff together or beat to fit, which is never a good solution. Now, we don't do this kind of thing, these one-size-fits-all kind of applications, because the truth is one size only fits one and the rest are compromises. So what we do is we ask a lot of questions about the ceiling system. If we need to go back to the specifier or the distributor, we do that so they can find out what's the ceiling system being used, and then we build the fixtures accordingly so you don't have this kind of problem hurting your reputation and harming your business. Now, when things do go wrong, and sometimes things do go wrong, we want you to know you can call us directly. Our phone number is on all of our literature. It's on the shipment of the fixtures. Obviously, we want the sales office and the distributor involved, but when you need answers right now, you are absolutely free to call us, and we answer the phone, and we're going to jump in and come up with the right solution to your problem. We believe in conscientious, responsible manufacturing, and that also means answering the phone and helping people when things go wrong. Now, this is the kind of product that our competitors make. This is a wall wash fixture, and yes, it washes the wall, but it does a very poor job. There's shadows up at the top of the wall, and a product like this, it draws attention to itself, it's very ugly, and it's bound by the grid. It can't go in continuous runs. We don't do that. Our wall wash fixture can be built to any dimension down to 256th of an inch at the factory, with a kick reflector on the bottom of the fixture that fully illuminates the top of the wall, so you don't get inconsistencies and ugly dynamics in the space and then an eyesore that you are responsible for because your company installed it. We don't give you that kind of product. We give you the kind of stuff that you can be proud of. Fully illuminated object walls, no shadows at the top of the wall, nice clean lines of light in the ceiling, and even fully illuminated corners in complex patterns with our wall wash fixture. Perimeter lighting systems, if you have any experience working with perimeter lighting systems, you know they're an absolute beast. They're so difficult to work with. They oftentimes have very poor illumination on the wall, and they don't fit well into the space, and they can't be built to exactly the length that you need, and they don't interface properly with the grid or the gyp ceiling, and there's gaps between the back of the fixture and the wall. There's all kind of problems associated with perimeter lighting. We solved every single one of those. We spent 18 months engineering our product to solve all those problems. The first problem we solved is the visible gap between the back of the fixture and the wall. We actually created a mud flange that gets mudded over the unfinished wall just above the ceiling line here. So this mudded over and painted, now there's this groove in the bottom of that mud flange that actually receives the reflector assembly from our fixture and eliminates the gap between the back of the fixture and the wall. So the quality of your construction is always beautiful. Now, we also made that trim piece with the mud flange on it. We made it so it could be flipped upside down in the field, and so the very same piece can be used in a non-mud application where you don't want to mud up. Maybe you're using like a brick wall or a wooden wall or a stone or a metal wall. You're not going to mud over any of those materials. So rather than having to order up a new component from Gamalux, you can just flip that wall trim upside down, and now you can use the very same trim in a non-mud application. It helps you save time and adapt to changing conditions in the field on the fly. Now, the PDF version of that particular brochure, the Perimeter series, has this chart right here where, say for instance, you need a 6-inch wide fixture that has a lamp barrier in it, so you can't see like the reflection of the lamps in a shiny mirror or something like that. Well, if you click on that little X or that little checkbox, it's going to hyperlink you to open up the spec sheet, automatically open up the spec sheet of that particular product. So it's a nice way to find our products based on your particular uses on a job. Our G-beam portal fixture is absolutely gorgeous. We use the same housing on the back that has all those great modification capabilities and integration capabilities, but rather than having the white lens on the bottom of the fixture, we have this backlit acrylic, which is obviously very dynamic. So now, because we were not the first manufacturer to market with this product, it was actually the Mark Finn that was the first product on the market, but we saw some problems with their aesthetics, exposed fasteners and fasteners visible through the acrylic. It's not the kind of thing that's going to make you look good, at the end of that job, right? So what we did is we cleaned up the aesthetic of the fixture. We got rid of the exposed fasteners. We got rid of the fasteners visible through the acrylic. So the truth is, if you're not going to be first to the market, you have to do a little better than the original guys. Now, these fixtures are often ordered and installed as individuals, absolutely beautiful and dynamic installation, or in continuous runs where there's just a little bit of a gap between those acrylic panels, but the gap is always consistent throughout. We can interface our fixtures with the gyp ceilings with either a cover flange or that beautiful mud flange that we have, or any kind of grid ceiling, metal ceilings, wood, gyp, fabric, foam, pixie dust. It doesn't matter what the ceiling systems are made of. As long as we can find out what it is, we will modify the fixtures as necessary in order to integrate properly with that ceiling system. I want you to understand, those are not custom fixtures. It's just a simple modification, and we don't charge extra for that kind of stuff. We offer color changing on DMX control in all of our LED fixtures. And if you need white on a separate circuit, we're glad to do that. A separate circuit of white, so you've got total control of that white circuit. We try to stay away from RGBW because the W, the white element in those fixtures, tends to be very dim and kind of weak. So we go RGB plus W in our fixtures, where the W, the white, is on a separate circuit, and that works out very well. The moral of the Gamalux story is really all about integration into the architecture, but we do it in such a way that we can give the installing contractor the most simple type of installation possible, and we do it in such a way that makes things easier for the distributor to order. Now, we love having coordination meetings about very large projects. We love having people come visit us so that we can go through all aspects of those projects and make sure we're not missing anything. We'll actually, if you like, we can have you come out and visit us while we're actually building the fixtures for your project, so you can have a clear understanding of how they're constructed, so that when you get back out to the job site, you're working with something that you're already familiar with. Thank you so much for your time. We hope you have a great day.